Nervous Rex, we're here with the one and only Too Short, a.k.a. Todd Shaw, a.k.a. The OG from the Bay. Actually, you know what? Wait a minute. You told me you were from L.A., moved to the Bay. Is that correct? You were from L.A. as a child.
I was born on Sunset Boulevard.
What?
Kaiser Hospital.
Okay.
And I'm born in L.A., but I moved to the Bay right after 9th grade.
Okay, so you had some formative years in L.A., and why did you go to the Bay? What brought you to the Bay Area where you learned the game and became an MC?
My mother worked for Internal Revenue Service. And she basically just transferred her job. And I went up there to the Bay. This was like in 8th grade. Mm-hmm. And I went up there and I'm like, I think I want to stay in L.A.
Why didn't you like the Bay initially? Just too different?
Well, you
Cold.
Just leaving home, friends, school.
Right.
So I stayed in L.A. and I stayed with my father, and he was super strict. And then my older brother, is with my mother for 1 year, saying, I'm having a time of my life. Like, he's like, this is different than what we were doing before. Like, he was talking about the school and the friends and everything, his whole new lifestyle. So I come up there and visit, and I'm like, he's not lying. But then I kicked up a big fuss about not moving, not staying in the Bay. So now, your parents are like, well, you got what you wanted. So I had to undo it.
Got it.
And the undoing was probably like the birth of Too Short.
Right. I had a similar experience, but it was within the Bay. When I was in 6th grade, I moved from San Francisco to Alameda, which is Oakland adjacent.
Two different planets.
But for anyone outside of the Bay Area, I'd be like, oh, it's all the same shit. But actually, no. I mean, even it's two different planets from Alameda to Oakland. It's two different
Exactly.
planets.
Just come through a tunnel and it's...
Dude, it's a different world. So going from San Francisco, my mom said, I want to get you out of the city and into the suburban life, because San Francisco was wild in the 80s, as you know. Mm-hmm. I think San Francisco has a reputation for being,
free-spirited.
Yeah, hippies and, trolleys and all that.
Free-spirited in many ways.
But there's also some grime to it. And she wanted to get me out of there. So she moved me to Alameda. But a lot of Oakland spills into Alameda and vice versa. So I found myself getting in trouble, hanging out with the wrong kids, going into Oakland all the time. On our lunch break, I remember, we would drive to Favor Street. Do you remember Favor Street was the weed spot?
I go there to this day.
Is it still a weed spot?
It's an everything spot.
Okay, because that's where they used to have, I remember they used to get, they call it a twomp sack. It's a 20 sack for listeners who don't know. It's a $20, maybe it was even a 10 sack back then, but it was a gram, and it was the best weed ever on the streets.
It was almost like a drive-through, like McDonald's. You drive through, you never get out the car.
And I was a white Caucasian male at the time.
But that was prime, clientele. You know what I mean?
Oh, they loved me.
You really didn't want your clientele to be from the block over.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? You want that drive-through. Where you coming from? Union City, Fremont, know?
Right. And I was the Alameda client, and they got to know my Chevy Nova, and I went to Earl Scheib 9995, and I painted it this dark, purple color. So after a while, they started to know my car, and it was me and all my little white homies.
Earl Scheib, he just paint over everything.
That was it.
Just know they don't do any prep. They just start.
No, they just paint over it. But when you're 16 years old, that's all you care about. So I would drive into East Oakland. For you guys listening, this is a rough neighborhood. I had no business going there like that. Like, my mom would have killed me if she knew I was taking my allowance.
You just got to know where to stop.
Or not to stop.
Yeah, exactly. Just know.
And I would drive through with my boys, and after a while, they started to know me. They were like, "Oh, there he is, the guy with the Nova." And I became one of their best clients. And we would throw in, me and my boys would take, and then we'd go to Wendy's, and we would spend our money on weed and Wendy's. They had Biggie fries, Biggie Coke, bacon, cheeseburger, and we would just share a joint, take two and pass.
Weed and Wendy's.
That was like 1989, 1990 East Oakland, and I had no business going there, dude.
I was one block over at the time. I was like right the next block over on Earl Street. That's where we hung out at back then.
Yeah, dude, it was grimy. And now when I go back home, sometimes I just want to go down memory lane, so I'll drive through Oakland, and it kind of feels the same. It's almost like going back in time compared to LA. Like, Oakland feels like it's in a state of arrested development. Like,
certain neighborhoods and blocks are identical to what they were.
Yep.
And then other ones are like getting really, really redone, like really super gentrified, like really nice.
It feels like Brooklyn or something. Like, there's a Brooklyn element to, like, within the Bay. Brooklyn is Oakland to New York, San Francisco. And a lot of people are moving over there that can't afford San Francisco.
Yeah, it's,
right?
it's almost like like East San Francisco or something.
Exactly.
It's like
No, it is, exactly. Was bitch your first word as a baby? Yeah.
curse words in general came to me at a young age. And not only naturally, but because I think all kids kind of know what cursing is. They know what bad words are.
Right.
But I had an older brother who periodically would give me and my cousins. He was like older. Like we have a lot of cousins that are like almost in the same little age proximity.
Right.
But my brother was one of the oldest. And he would line us up and say shit. And he goes, shit. He's like, you ain't saying it right. You got to go, shit.
Oh, so you were taught how to say it.
Well,
like
kind of sort of. You know, older kids get a kick out of
right.
and say motherfuck bitch. Like I was good at it.
Right.
I knew how to curse. I knew how to curse and I knew when to curse.
Right. And so how did I think bitch has become synonymous with, it's definitely your word. When you created, okay, I guess here's the question. When you created the character Too Short, were you trying to do something different in that you were like, I'm going to talk shit that nobody's ever really talked before? Because at the time, there was no rappers that were saying what you were saying.
So what happened was I heard rap music and loved it.
What did you hear? What did you grow up on?
This is 1979, the first time I heard rap called hip hop.
Right, New York rap.
You heard things of rhythm talking over beats before that. There was a lot of that out, but it wasn't called hip hop. So I got introduced to hip hop in 1979 and immediately fell in love with it. About a year into it, me being a music student in elementary school, band, middle school, high school, I was in the band. So me being a music guy who knew the structure of music, I immediately, I was a drummer. I immediately heard hip hop and was like, I could do that. So about a year after my first time hearing it, I tried it. And it was right when I moved to Oakland, the summer I moved to Oakland, I got a little instrumental record and I wrote some rhymes and I recorded it on a little cheap tape recorder. And I was like, I can do this. So for about a year and a half, 2 years, I would just do these little, this is like 1980. I would do these little bebop rhymes, about the color of your clothes and, the party and all this stuff. Just would mimicking New York. And I heard the message, which is Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5, particularly a rapper named Melly Mel. And the picture that he painted in that song was a very visual version of New York City.
Broken glass everywhere?
For a person who's never set foot in New York City, I could see it.
Did I just quote wrong? Was it broken glass everywhere?
Yeah, broken glass.
Yeah, okay.
That's the first line of the song.
Right.
So, he just brings you in his world and you like, oh shit. So the first time I heard the message, I was walking down the street with my big ass radio. I was a rapper, didn't have much direction at the time. But the second I heard that song, I was like, oh shit, I should tell the story of Oakland.
Wow.
Like I saw the visual.
Wow.
So at that point, I started writing rhymes so that you could visualize Oakland. Because to me, growing up in LA, Oakland was like a movie to me. It was like, I'm looking at this something so different than what I'm used to. I'm like, this is amazing.
Big booty bitches on the corner.
Like a pimp just drove down the street, driving a limousine with 4 prostitutes in the back, and he waved at me. Like it was that kind of shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And you did paint the picture to a lot of people. You were the first one.
But I think that if I had been a native Oakland, born and raised, a native from Oakland, I don't think that it would have been as fascinating.
Interesting.
And I don't think that my storytelling would have been from such a fan perspective of the city,
Right. It's almost like you were visiting, even though you lived there, you were seeing it with new eyes.
I was the perfect guy to paint the picture. Like, here I am, smart, intelligent, fascinated, and you somebody else has been there every day, and they're like, man, they might see the hard part of it. I saw the beauty of it,
Right. And I remember the first time I was in 6th grade and I just moved to the East Bay and there was a kid named Greggy Wilcox. He was this very colorful character who in the PE class was, he was just one of those wild boys. Rest in peace. He passed away and he had a white cassette tape that he had, it wasn't a Too Short tape, it was actually a blank tape that he recorded off KPOO. Is that right? KPOO was the radio station in the Bay.
KPOO 89.5 San Francisco.
And it was a college station in Stanford or something like that, I think, right? It was whatever. It was a Bay Area underground. They played me. And he had Freaky Tales on it, and he handed it to me, and I listened to it on my Walkman, and I remember hearing it for the first time, similar to how you heard Houdini. And I said, oh my God, there's somebody talking about having sex in a Cadillac like in Oakland. And it changed my life. I was like, oh shit, this is...
KPOO was the first station in the Bay that played rap.
Right.
It was literally located in the hood on University in the Fillmore.
Oh, okay, so
San
it was not
Francisco.
Stanford Radio. I'm confused. Okay.
Now, all the colleges had radio stations. UC Berkeley had one. They all had a little station that was 80.89, something down the line, and they'd have
had bad words on it, if I'm not mistaken. They didn't care.
Other stations had these college channels that used to play the unedited version, but they only would have like an hour show or a 2-hour show, and you'd be like trying to get the static out and find it. But KPOO was a constant. It was there it was in the community. You would tune in at night on weekends, and you'd hear the stuff that we wanted to hear.
Right, and that's exactly how I heard it. But it was recorded back then. That's what you do.
You would have got KPOO. You could have found it in Alameda.
Oh no, I'm sure I found it eventually, but I heard it on a cassette, and I remember listening to it and going, "Oh my goodness, this could be done." And I didn't realize it at the time, but that's what planted the seed for many years later. I created the character Dirt Nasty, which is sort of, I did similar to you. I came to LA and painted the picture of Hollywood as someone who just moved. Exactly the opposite of you. I came from the Bay to LA. And I was like, I got to paint the picture of all this crazy debauchery and Hollywood bullshit that I see. But I did it with sort of a Too Short Bay Area flair.
Like a pimp.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. Even though, obviously I was not reporting on, urban stuff. I was reporting on the Hollywood Hills. But that's what I was seeing. I was just reporting what I was seeing, which was some Hollywood shit.
Sounded like a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And you and I actually did some of that together. I remember one time we did a show, and I really got to tip my hat off to you because most rappers have, I think, a very big ego and a lot of pride. And I remember we were doing a show, and I was paid to open up for you, and we were in Hollywood. I don't even know if you remember this. And you said, I'm going to open up for you. And I go, what are you talking about? You're too short. It's all good. And like, we're in Hollywood, bro. This is your shit. I'm opening for you. And I don't think any rapper ever would do. Every rapper wants the headline slot.
The logic is you look at the room, you look at the scenario, and I know what you do, and I know how the crowd's going to turn up. So I'm like, if you're going to do that damn Gold Chain song and shit, like let's I'm going to get the crowd in a good mood and then do that shit, And we had a good time.
We had a great time. And I'm just saying kudos to you for doing that. And I do that all the time with me and Mickey Avalon when we go on the road. Some cities, there might be more Dirt Nasty fans, but I open up for him because I know the show will be better that way. It just works out better that way. So, but most rappers wouldn't do that. Most rappers, me. So yeah, and yeah, I couldn't believe you did that. Most people, most rappers would want that headline slot. And then one other time I remember we were traveling, we were in Burbank Airport. I think we were flying to do a show somewhere. And the flight not only got delayed and canceled, but we had to go to LAX from Burbank. That's an hour drive. And I'm a neurotic Jewish person that gets frazzled easily. And I think you're a very composed, cool cat. And I remember I was like having a meltdown at the airport, and you were so composed and cool about it. And you were just like, look, man, if we miss it, we miss it. We got to guarantee. You taught me a lot about how to, travel, because if you can't control it, what the fuck are you gonna do about it? And you were just very cool as a cucumber. You're like, whatever, man, it is what it is. And I was having a meltdown. Are you always this composed? You seem to be a cool cat, like cool.
I'm a realist.
Yeah.
So the reality of it is you're in a situation and you can't freak your way out of it. You know what I mean?
You can't freaky tails your way out of it.
You're in the situation. I mean, shit, just deal with the shit. Deal with life. Like I don't know where that came from, but it's just it's a decision making, on the moment, in the moment kind of thing. And you just got to do it for better or for worse. It's like we're just trying to get the money and get back home.
Right. Now, what does I've never even seen you raise your voice and get angry. What gets you upset? What would really make you pissed off or something? Like, you don't seem like the kind of guy.
I was raised in Oakland.
Right.
So I got these rules that are like the rules of the game.
Which is what?
And it's just as a pimp would live. So I'm like, treat me like a pimp, respect me like a pimp, or you'll see what really happens. So, and if you know what pimp's respect is, a pimp is like, like almost like a diva, kind of like, you gotta, don't step on my shoes, don't say anything disrespectful, or even like looking crazy, all that shit. So those general like just rules are like a pimp just walked in the room. You know what I mean?
Respect.
And I'm 9 times out of 10 I'm wearing a pinky ring and all that kind of shit. That kind of guy. That's what they like. What would you What would your advice be like to young ladies? I'm like, never date a guy with a pinky ring. That's me.
Wow, that's interesting. That's so true. That's so true. I remember one time too, we went to the Playboy Mansion together.
Yeah.
A couple times. And one time and you're like, okay, you drive, Dirt. And I came and picked you and your boys up. And I don't know if you remember this, but I had an Audi station wagon, but it was the narrow one. I just got it. And you and your boys all looked at each other like three of your homies. There were some big dudes. And you guys were all squeezed in my little Audi station wagon. And you guys were laughing. And I'm like, what? And you said, we're used to ride it. You said, we're used to riding big bodies.
That's right.
And you guys were all squished in my little, and not only it was an Audi station wagon. Could it be any whiter than that, than your white friend pulling up in the goddamn station wagon to the Playboy Mansion? And I remember getting out and you guys were like, not embarrassed, but you guys were like, man, we're not used to rolling like this. And it was like, oh, I was just like, I was that dude in the station wagon.
Yeah, you kind of pull up in that thing, but you're like, I can't leave.
I was just like, I could pull off the station wagon, but you guys, I get it. Like the cool points definitely go down. Like you got to look good getting out of the car, and there's no way to look good getting out of the station wagon. But
especially when you leave, and it's like Playboy Mansion departure is like,
dude,
it's like exciting.
There was a little run for the Playboy Mansion when we were going where it was magical. I feel like it's over. There was a little window of time right when Hef got divorced. It was like 2000 to 2005. There was a little window when it was on again, and it felt like what the 80s must have been like. Like I seen people fucking. I seen people coming out of the bathroom with coke on their face. It was fuck. I saw Jim Carrey breakdancing.
We witnessed the stories that we heard.
Yep. And then we did a song called Playboy Mansion, which we never put out.
It never came out?
No, we never put it out. It was just, we did a few songs that never, you know how it goes. You for every song that comes out, there's probably 10 that don't.
My favorite one was 1969.
Yeah, that was a good one. That one came out.
The concept was great.
Yeah, and you know what it is?
I want to fuck you like it's 1969.
That's right. Something about those year songs, 1980, 1969, those ones work. And then, I don't know if you remember this, we did a song with George Clinton.
Yes, we did. That was a weird session, too.
That was a weird session.
You can't ever forget that session.
I can't.
I can't even remember the song, but I remember the session.
It was a sample. Here's what happened. Let me just fill in the listeners real quick. So you hit me up and you're like, hey, I want you to come to the studio. You were with the Lonely Island guys too. Mm-hmm. You were just finishing up a session with them, and then George Clinton. For those of you guys listening who don't know, he created funk music. He created a genre of music which led to rap music. He is a king. He is a pillar in the music community forever.
He reinvented the funk. James Brown kind of created it.
Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Parliament took James Brown formula and they twisted it.
There you go. So he's a god.
Sly Stone pulled up that day too.
Sly Stone was there that day?
He pulled up
right.
He pulled up and they went in that back room and were doing Unmentionables.
Yeah, they went and did Unmentionables. and I never forget that you had to sell to George Clinton that I deserved to be on the track. Yeah. Because at first he came in and looked at me and he was like, "Short, this is the dude that's gonna be on the song," and you were like, "Trust me, he could do his thing." So I remember the pressure was on. It was like, oh my God, I got too short, George Clinton. I better write some fire verse. So he went in the back and did his thing. We made the beat out of a sample of his song, and I wrote something that fit the theme of the song, whatever it was. And it's called "She's Burning Up." She's burning up.
I remember, yeah.
And I remember he went in the room in a bad mood, and he came out in a good mood. That's all I'm going to say. So whatever he did in there, that's his business. So he came out in a good mood, and you played him the song Thus Far while he was in the room, what we did, and he looked at me, and he looked at you, and he said, "That's him rapping?" And then he smiled and said, "All right, I like this kid." And then he wrote a rap and rapped on the song.
Exactly. But you know what's funny about that session? I gotta get Dave's version, Dave Weintraub, because somebody else called for that whole gathering of all of us, and it was what's his name, Seagal's studio.
Yep, Seagal. Yep.
So in the end, after it was all said and done, I got the call from Seagal like, "Hey, I need that payment." I'm like,
oh, that's right.
I'm like, for what? It's like last night's session. Like, it wasn't my session.
Right, that's right. I remember you hit me up because they wanted some money for that.
So then the song was a sample.
Right.
And it was George Clinton. It was a whole, it was like the song turned out to be like a hot potato. Like, it's your song.
Right. And now it's just sitting on an old laptop.
Like whoever's song it was had to pay for the session.
And then I think what happened too in the end was the record, somehow we weren't allowed to clear the sample on his own song.
It was crazy.
Some record politics. But at the end of the day, for me personally,
it was a great experience.
That was one of those few times besides meeting Stevie Wonder where I actually called my mom and I was like, "Mom, you're not going to believe this."
Let me tell you how amazing that day was. Like something that happened that you probably went right over your head. So Sly Stone came in the studio and hung out with George. He didn't really fuck with us too tough. He said what's up to us, but he came and hung out, and he's like, he's not really like a people person. And for the most part, he had came up in this van that he used to drive. I don't know. But if you wanted to fuck with him, you have to go out from where you're at and go to his van and say what's up to him.
That's his rule?
But because George Clinton was there that night, he got out and came in. And that was like, people were like, he did what?
Wow, I didn't even know.
So him coming out and hanging in that room and them those are old buddies. Like, I don't know how long since they seen, but they were like real buddies.
Yeah.
So that's why when they went in the room, they could have just talked. Whatever the fuck they did, they were like, you guys aren't invited in this powwow.
And it was George Clinton's whole family was there too.
Because I looked in the room, they were like, you can't come in here.
Right.
So I figured it's either like they're doing things that I don't want to be a part of,
right,
or
that's the impression I got.
But it might have been a little bit of both. I don't know.
Yeah. And then now George Clinton, I was just in Bali and he's
all cleaned up and shit.
He's all cleaned up and vegan and sober and looking like he looks like a different human being.
You know what? It's
in
like
his 70s.
It's almost like he cheated, man.
How could you get that far?
How could you fucking do all the best drugs, all the wildest shit, and then just get hella old and say, I'm clean now?
Yeah, he's one of the rare exceptions.
Other people are fucked the fuck off from that lifestyle.
Yeah, it's like you either got to stay on those drugs until you die. Because
what happens if Ozzy Osbourne goes vegan now?
You know what I mean?
Does it get better if he goes vegan?
I think some people are just built differently. Like Ozzy Osbourne's built differently. Some people are just made for that shit, and some people, man, they can't handle it. They're just a different breed. I mean. Yeah, I don't understand it myself. That was some other shit.
Yeah, we got some people out here that just snort a one-on-one and die.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to it. A lot of times what happens is someone will be a party animal, they clean up, and then they relapse, and that's when they go out because their body's like, which way we going here? That's why you're almost better off just staying on it forever and living.
Have you seen the Motley Crue movie?
Yeah,
on Netflix?
Dirt. Yeah,
I read the book.
Me too. That's why it's always hard to watch something when you read the book because I like the book better, and the acting was obviously very over the top and campy, but it was still entertaining. I mean, that story is amazing. When Ozzy Osbourne sniffed the ants.
But that's the Hollywood that I showed up to, the remnants of that. That was the leftovers of people were still like rock stars and shit.
Wait, when did you move to LA? Back to LA?
I can't say moved. I started frequenting LA again probably like 88, 89.
When it was still a little wild. Sunset Strip was still popping.
Sunset was still rock and roll.
Okay, so you are born in LA, moved to the Bay, and then now what you spend time Atlanta, LA, Oakland, is it fair
After the Bay, I went to Atlanta for about 15 years and just experienced the whole, emergence of that hip hop scene, the birth of it.
Right.
And I kind of, I would have stayed in Atlanta. I to this day, I love Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta. The only reason why I came back is because it's something about the DNA of a Californian. Like, no matter if it's NorCal or SoCal, it's in me. And I'd come out here, like when I did the song Shake That Monkey and Blow the Whistle, I come out here and do these shows, and the love that I get on the West Coast is different. It's almost like family, like relatives. Right. And I don't know. It's just the weed, the pressure of the pressure of smoking good weed in Atlanta was always really high. Like you had to smuggle the weed to get out there and shit. And I'm on the airplane with like ounces and ounces in my pocket and shit. And it's like stressful, you know what I mean? And then if somebody else brought it for you, they like double the price and shit. So
but then you get a castle for a third of the price to live. There's a lot of perks. There's pluses and minuses of living out there.
But that weed and that shit with like, these California women, that shit weighed heavy on me.
Yeah. You realize once you leave California, like it's a good, like you go all over the world, you're like, oh, now I know why they call it the Golden State. It's a magical place. This place is kind of a good place.
They always talk about like these fat asses and all this shit, these big booty girls. I'm like, I like my girls from the front.
Right.
California style, face me.
Really, that's interesting because the older I got, I grew up, when I grew up in the Bay, all the brothers in my school would see a girl with a fat ass walk by and they'd bite their fist and be like, damn, I never understood it. Then as I got older, I think I've turned more into a black man because now I like a big fat ass. And I used to just think a skinny model was where it's at with a pretty face and the tits. Now I need a fat ass. So I'm evolving. Okay. I'm Jewish, and I think Jewish people and black people are same in a lot of ways. Where we have a similar struggle.
A lot of Jewish girls have ass.
They do.
I don't know where that comes from.
I don't either. And here's another theory I have: white girls with fat asses are regional. There's some in Texas has white girls with fat ass.
Illinois,
Midwest
Midwest all day.
What else? Florida has the Latin girls with the fat ass because it's an accumulation of all of the Latin countries all go to Miami and
But
South
California,
Florida.
you get you a beautiful, she's just wavy, beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's a medium ass.
Yeah, there's medium asses out here. We get them in all shapes and colors, but there's something about a white girl with a fat ass
A
that.
fat ass out here is like huge.
Well, and also here's another thing as I learned is it's not just about a fat ass, it's the ratio. It's got to be
Your
a
ass
small
could just be
way.
like kind of fat, and they're like, her ass is so huge.
Yeah, and here's another. Okay, let's talk about this for a minute. I think back in the day, girls used to be like, "Oh my God, my butt's big." Now girls want a fat ass because of Instagram and the Kardashians.
Yeah,
they changed the world.
If they did that, they invented those squats.
That's what I'm saying.
You do squats for like 5 years, and you got booty.
Do you remember the days when girls were like, my butt's big, and they were embarrassed? Now I think they all want a big ass because here's my theory. Back in the day, the fashion magazines had these storks on the cover, and it was basically the fashion industry was run by homosexual men who said that's what beauty is. Well, now straight men are on Instagram clicking like on a fat ass.
Thickness.
So now I think women are seeing what the men of the street, like straight men, what they want is a fat ass, and it's changing the world. So Instagram and the Kardashians have changed the world of what's considered sexy because we don't want a stork that's skinny. That's my theory.
True.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, and it's it's that whole camera thing, man. That little bony thing looks good on camera.
Right.
And then you see the girl and you're like, she's a fucking toothpick. But then then you see somebody who's very voluptuous and normally fine.
Right.
And you put them on camera like, oh, she's fat.
Right.
It's a stereotype thing on top of who's controlling it.
Right.
But, that's why I keep it in the middle, man. I'm I don't want I think a lot of thick girls that we celebrate, to me, I'm in a barbershop, more guys like that. They like thick girls.
Yeah.
And they like, it's going to do with that little skinny girl. But then, I don't know, with me, man, I just keep it in the middle. I don't want my girl too big and round, and I don't want her too.
Well, here's what it is.
Paper thin.
I think it goes deeper than that. I think on a biological level, what's happening is that you want, you don't even realize it because it passes your logic, but you want a girl with childbearing hips that's going to give you a healthy baby. So without even realizing it, if you have some skinny girl that's not going to breastfeed the baby and have healthy birth hips, then that's going to be an unhealthy baby. And you, evolutionarily speaking, you want a girl that's going to give you a healthy baby. So I think it even passes logic. It's one thing to want to grab a beach ball ass and have fun with it, but I think it goes deeper than that. It's on some biological
Just don't
shit.
ever give me a fat girl with little tits.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I'm not a titty man, though. I never really cared about tits. I call them wife titties. As long as it's a handful, it's all you need that aren't going to sag in the later years. Those are wife titties.
I can't do. I like a big girl from time to time,
Right.
But the benefits of big girls are big features,
Right. How much of Freaky Tales was true? Is that okay to talk about?
Freaky Tales is a song with a lot of names that rhyme with a lot of words, and
There it is.
these are stories. Like, there's a lot of truth in Freaky Tales. There's a lot of little secrets that people go, you really put her in a song? But a large part of it just aimlessly goes to like the names that rhyme with a lot of words.
Like Dinah, China, they just rhymed.
And you put all these elements. I put these different elements in songs. So a song has to have truth in it.
Right.
For me, it also has to have humor in it because it's going to be so vulgar that if you don't laugh, you're going to be offended.
Right.
So I got to put the humor in there, and I got to put the pimp shit in it. So if I put these little ingredients in there and I put a little Oakland in there, it always turns out good.
The formula worked, and I think that you, without meaning to, I don't think you tried to do this, but you created a lane that I fell into, and then I don't even know. It's crazy, man. I had Little Dicky come up to me at a Adam Sandler party when Little Dicky first started blowing up, and he came up to me and gave me love, and he was like, "Dude, my dick," and that's the song I did, "My Dick" with Mickey. He goes, "Without my dick, there'd be no Little Dicky." Straight up, he said that. Now, without Too Short, there'd be no dirt. I don't think you realize the funnel of what.
It's like a university system, man. It's actually educational. It was meant to be that way.
So you knew this.
And yeah, I mean, I was learning some things. So I figured this is what it is. I learn these things. I go out and study around the Oakland culture, pimp stuff, gangster stuff, just the stuff that was fascinating me.
Right.
About mind manipulation over vaginas. I don't know.
Right.
Just the pimp shit.
Right.
So I'm just studying it, man. I didn't want to be a pimp. I didn't want hoes to go to work and work for me. I just wanted to, from movies from like Oakland, I just wanted to tell the story. So I learned this shit, and I'm like, I gotta tell people about this shit. Like, it's just, you can't keep it to yourself. But you also you realize that you're playing with fire. If I teach you how to be a pimp, you might be the wrong kind of pimp. Right. You might be bad for the business, you know? So you just gotta, I don't know, man. What they say, the game is sold, not told.
Right.
So I put it on wax, and you gotta buy it to get it. So it's like you're going to Too Short University.
I love it. Now, I wonder if listening to Broken Glass Everywhere, so it started there because that inspired you. Wonder what inspired him, because that was the beginning of rap. Pretty much, there was no rap. What, Sugar Hill Gang? Was there's some other type of genre of music? Like, it's just crazy to watch the trickle down effect. Like, and then what's gonna be after Little Dicky? Like, there's this mumble rap thing. Are you a mumble rap fan? There's some of it to me that's listenable. There's
I'm a fan of hit records, and I'm a fan of success. And I think that if you tried to be the judge and jury of a so-called mumble rapper or mumble rap genre, you would, if you try to judge it, I don't think you could be validated in your judgment because you can't do what they do.
Right.
And you can't, we make music.
Right.
Can we go to a studio right now and make a hit record? Like, there's a science to it. There's a talent to what they're doing. They're making feel good music, and
that's it.
It amazes me to be in a room full of youngsters and one of these songs come on. I'm a lyricist. I'm a rapper. I rap, and I know this song very well, but I don't really know the particular words. And I watch them, and they all know the words, and I go, "How the fuck do you all know the words?" And they say some shit like YouTube.
It's a whole different game now.
So it's just funny to watch 5 people sing along to a rap song.
You don't know. A
rap song that has words that aren't very understandable.
Well,
but it's dope to me. It's dope.
As long as it sounds good, it's dope. Look, there's some of that mumble rap shit. I don't want to be that old salty guy that's like, when are they fuck talking about? So it sounds good. It sounds good. And
mumble rap that's dope. Mumble rap is old as fuck.
Well, because it started with what? I don't
know. Daz Effects was mumble rappers,
right? But I guess technically, the genre called mumble rap with these new this face tattoo.
That was a
SoundCloud genre.
That was named by older jealous artists.
That's exactly right.
Older hip hop fans who,
because it's almost like an insult. Mumble rap. It doesn't sound like a compliment.
That is equivalent to the R&B world in the early '80s and the older generation in the early '80s, all saying rap was a fad.
Right. I remember when people said. I remember my parents saying rap was a fad, and I remember buying
just a little break dance. It'll go away.
Right. Shit didn't go nowhere. Now it's gotten more big and mainstream than ever, and that's just so crazy to me. The evolution of it and like where it's going.
They used to say it's not real music because it didn't have musicians.
But then, see, you were one of the first rappers to actually incorporate, like your boy. I hope I don't say his name wrong. Was it your boy Lion? Who was it that played bass? You had like live music and
Shorty B.
Shorty B. Now remember, you were one of the first. You said, you know what? I don't want to pay all my money for a sample. Back when rap was very sample laden, and everyone had to pay out. You said, I'm gonna play my shit live with a real instrument, so I don't have to pay anybody out, and you just have a funky little lick.
Guess what happens now? People sample my records, and I get the fucking publishing.
That's amazing. But you didn't know that back then. You were just trying to avoid paying clearance then, correct?
Well, I wasn't thinking about future sampling and making.
Right. I
was just thinking like I knew early on that a songwriter gets paid.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm writing these words, might as well write the music too. What the fuck? I own 100% publishing on a lot of Too Short songs.
And didn't you play some of the stuff on the old like Freaky Tales?
I'm telling you,
you played.
I made a lot of them. I'm in the studio banging that shit out. That was.
So okay, so for instance, Freaky Tales, it's just an 808 and a synth. It's like you know what it is, almost some of the best music to me. It's like a good meal. Like a good pasta has 4 ingredients. You got pasta, you got tomatoes, you got garlic, and you got some fucking meat.
Song's got about 7 tracks total.
It's all you need.
It's one keyboard and it's one drum machine, and we just let them go.
But your best, to me, you created some shit back in the day that was a 5-track song. Like Freaky Tales is what, 5 tracks?
It's about 6 or 7, including the vocals.
Okay.
But I
Including the vocals.
Even those songs, man, like when I listen back to them, I've been on this all these years, but when I listen to them, there's a lot of fuck ups in those songs. And I would be in the studio with the engineer having these dumbass conversations about, well, you got to turn the bass down. And I'm like, why would I turn the bass down? He's like, because if we press this up on wax, the needle won't stay in the groove. And I'm like, well, turn it back up because we're not pressing wax. We're just making cassettes. Right. So turn the shit up. It won't skip on a cassette. Right. He's like, you can't do that. I'm like, well, let's do something that can't be done. Just do it.
Right.
And I'm sitting there fighting the bass would always be on track one. And he keeps turning down. I keep turning it up. I'm like, stop fucking touching the bass knob. I'm arguing with a professional engineer who's telling a amateur, you're not listening. And I'm like, I know I'm not listening. Just do what I said.
And you were right, because you wanted the bass in the trunk to rattle, which he didn't understand, which was just about coming down
damn turntables in the car.
Right. And I remember when we did a song once too, you taught me a trick where you said, I'm going to double my vocals twice, pan them each to the left and to the right. Is that okay if I give that? That's not a secret. That's okay. I mean, now, remember in the studio.
But when I told you that, a lot of rappers weren't really stacking and doing it like that.
Well, the engineer tried to argue with you. I remember this clearly. And the engineer was saying, no, we don't do it like that. And you're like, listen to me. I do it like this.
Yeah, just do it.
You're like, trust me. I've been doing this for a long time. And he's some 21-year-old kid. And you're like, my man, pan them to the left and the right. And it sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And you're right.
Many years later. So it sounds really amazing in headphones too.
So is that still a formula of yours to just 4-track the vocals, pan them both to each side? Now, people that aren't engineers, this might sound crazy, but it's a simple trick.
But a lot of swag now is to actually do those 2 tracks and make a mono and just stack them it gets a little effect on it.
I also saw in a documentary about the 808 drum machine that there was only one of them that you had out in San Francisco that you'd have to go borrow or something. There was like one in the Bay that you knew of.
The homie from Hunters Point, his name was Chris Wayne. He actually had a physical 808 drum machine.
And they were rare back then to find.
He's the only person I knew of one.
And that was the one that you used in conjunction with what, like a little rolling drum? Like what'd you make the drums on all those
the rolling 808 is the drum machine. And then I had a keyboard that I acquired from somewhere. It was a rolling SH-101, very small, like not a lot of keys, and I would just one finger that motherfucker to death.
That's the best shit. It's like I still type when I type like an email. I'm still like hunting and pecking. I don't know how to type. Same thing when you see someone playing keyboards all beautifully. When I make a beat, it's 3 notes.
So the engineer would try to show me where I fucked up. He messed up right there. I'm like, oh, it's cool, leave it. He's like looking at me like I'm like, dude, leave the fuck ups in the song. It's
the imperfections are what makes it. It's almost like when you see a girl that she's like, oh my God, like I got a slightly crooked tooth or a space in my teeth. Like that's what makes you beautiful. Don't you get it? It's about those imperfections. That's what makes it dope.
Yeah, I never met a perfect chick.
You know what I mean?
That was normal.
What do you mean that was normal? Like normal in what way?
If she's just like head to toe, perfect. Like you looking like, look at this perfect work of art.
There's gonna be something wrong with her.
Yeah, she's probably dumb or got like a snort or something.
Yeah, there's no such thing.
Like bad gas or something.
Look at her there's gonna be something wrong with her, dude.
Yeah.
I've met those girls before. There's no such thing as the perfect girl, first of all.
Or maybe like a funny walk.
Right.
Something quirky. But I think that even her in her beautiful head to toe, that little whatever quirk that is wrong.
Yeah.
Is her.
That's what makes it. Yeah.
Not the perfect look.
Right.
It's the other shit that makes you fly.
Do you think pigeon toe? I have a weird thing as I got older. I like pigeon toe girls. Do you ever see a girl that's pigeon toed that's hot? Because it's almost like what they're doing is they're ready for sex at any moment.
They ride a dick better.
Is that a fact? Okay, so I'm so late to the party,
I used to like bow-legged girls on Ferris wheels.
So it's bow-legged is pigeon-toed, right? Same thing when they point in.
You could
bow-legged, duck-legged is
You
out.
could be bow-legged and pigeon-toed. That's a lot.
So wait, please explain to me the difference between pigeon-toed.
Your toes just go in. You could be pigeon-toed without being bow-legged.
So what's bow-legged?
That's when your whole fucking legs go out like they fucking buckle.
Oh shit, that's rich. So if you're pigeon-toed and bow-legged, you're ready to go.
She's just a dick rider.
God damn, I wonder if they're just,
she's ready to go to the rodeo.
And then what about double jointed? Like yogi girls.
And that gets into that old contortion and shit.
That's what I'm saying.
That puts your legs behind your ears and shit.
Right.
And that's
I mean, that's beautiful stuff. Mm-hmm. I find that to be attractive. The older I get, the weirder I get. I'm doing I'm getting into weird stuff. Now,
No, you always been in the weird shit.
I've always been listening. Now, real quick, on an old album, you said, I had to look this up because I want to say it right. On an old album, you said, I'll give you a bitch, but wouldn't give you a joint. Bitches ain't shit. Now made my point. In this day and age, it's very politically correct. Even calling a girl a bitch gets sensitive, whatever. But it's almost a term of endearment. Now, in this day and age of marijuana being extremely affordable and abundant and ubiquitous, marijuana, would you still feel the same way? I'll give you a bitch, but wouldn't give you a joint. Do you still feel the same way, or now have you matured
that was a sort of a young mentality, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was a sort of a disposable kind of mind frame that I wasn't like fully mature.
Right.
And, I was being childish and
exaggerating for Too Short. Like, how much of Too Short are you inside Todd Shaw? Because I'd like to say I'm 5%, 5 to 12%. That's
the humor, though, bro. I'm sitting there, I'm smoking a joint, and I got a bad bitch with me. You say, let me hit the weed. And I'm like, I'd give you this bitch before I give you this fucking joint.
Right.
That's just
exaggerated.
That's just the humor.
I got you.
But it's about 50-50. I really feel like, so Too Short is this over-exaggerated character that people wish they could just walk in a room and go, what's that bitch suck my dick? And she goes, okay. That's just a dream. So I think that Too Short, if he functioned in all his too shortness, would have a lot of failures with that.
Oh, absolutely.
With that blunt approach. So I feel like the part of me that I put into the character, the real part, is much better than that fantasy,
right?
Pimp thing about I just walk in, snap my fingers, and all the girls give me all their money. I have a much better way of making all the girls give me their money.
Now, I 100% agree, and I have a similar thing with the character I created called Dirt Nasty, where it's funny to see how obviously I'm exaggerating, but the way women respond to it is mind blowing because it's almost like they love that shit.
Yeah, and it's disappointing to a few.
For you who?
To a few female fans to find out that I'm just not like gonna just grab her by her fucking hair, face fuck her, and call her hella bitches, and she's like, you're not like that?
That's what I get all the time, man. I learned that shit so quick. Like, dude,
I'm like, no, I'm kind of a gentleman. She's like, fuck.
Yeah.
And they're pissed.
And then you'd be faking it if you were to then all of a sudden try to act like the character that you portray.
I had a girl go, baby, come over here. Too Short said he's not a pimp.
Oh, no.
And she's like, see, my man's a real pimp. He's a pimp. I go hoe and give him my money. He's a pimp.
I had a girl come up to me once here in LA, and I think she was even with Dave Weintraub, and she was just some feisty, crazy bitch. And she was like, she goes, Dirt Nasty, you ain't Dirt Nasty. You're not even from Oakland, you fake. She just called me out. I'm like, whoa. First of all, Dirt Nasty's from Oakland. It's a character that I play. I'm from San Francisco and Alameda. But when I'm the character of Dirt Nasty, I like to portray a sleazy white dude who's from Oakland and LA. And it's a character that I portray. It's not literal. She was upset and offended. Turns out she was from Oakland and she took pride in it. And I had to explain to her, look, this is entertainment, baby. This isn't real life. I'm fucking around. It's a joke. Have some fun. Lighten up.
Then you fucked her and you guys are friends for years.
Yeah, and we got married and had kids. Now, Too Short, Todd Shaw recently had a child. Could we talk about that briefly? You're a father now.
Don't say a child, say
a beautiful baby?
A daughter.
A daughter.
A old player.
An old player.
Who many years of playing, player, super player. Yeah, little cute little girl is like.
Beautiful little girl.
And I mean, I'm not gonna get too much into it, but at the same time, a lot of people are in denial. They're like, no. Didn't happen, but
what do you mean they're denial that because their hero Too Short, who's the last surviving player, is going to have a family?
Because my homies are on their grandkids, so my homies' grandkids are older than my kid.
Now, we don't need to get too into it. I don't want to get too personal, but I'm similar to you in that I'm 44 years old. I've never had any kids yet. One day I will. And when I do, I know I'm going to have a daughter too. I just know it because I've been a player.
You earned it.
I know it's going to happen. I'm going to have a beautiful, cute little daughter, and I'm ready for it. Now, I saw you in an interview on Vlad somewhere. I believe it was on Vlad. Said that he's like, why haven't you had it up until now? He said, why haven't you had ever got married to this point? You said, because I've seen all my friends around me constantly dealing with their crazy wives. Where are you? This and that. And he goes, they walk in a room and their posture's defeated. I walk in a room and my chest is out.
Yeah, I mean, I just
relate to that.
I've seen, that whole 50% divorce ratio, but I think it's more. I think it's higher than that because I only know about a few homies that made it. You know, the marriage is.
And are they really happy? We could go into this marriage thing because I think it's a dated concept, and I don't know what to do about it.
I would think if I got into a marriage, I would have to be like under some kind of contract that says that there has to be like a mutual renewal. Like the first 5 years, we got to renew it,
right.
And then maybe 5 years after that, we got to renew it again.
I love that idea, and I also think that
you need 2 signatures, or it's all automatically off.
Here's another thing with marriage: it's like, hey, baby, I love you, you love me. Let's involve the state of California now and deal with paperwork. Like, what the fuck? Why can't it just be that we love each other and we're gonna have a family? Like, I don't understand involving the government. Like, that seems ridiculous to me to involve money and the state. Like, why does that have to happen?
I guess things happen over the years, man, where breakups were unfair and you know, states decided to step in and make laws. Like, you know, even outside of marriage, you have all that common law marriage stuff. And you know, man, but me personally, I've only lived with 2 women in my entire life.
And how old were you when you lived with said women? How old were you?
The first time I was like 21. It was young and fun. Bunch of arguing and fucking. Mm-hmm. And the second time I was about
arguing and fucking. I know that one. I've been in that relationship.
That's fun as fuck though.
Yeah, it is.
Like shit, we fucked in the closet, we fucked in the shower, fucked in the living room, fucked in the kitchen, argue all over the house.
Yeah, bedrooms aren't for fucking. Bedrooms are for sleeping. Every other room is for having sex.
Second time I tried it, I was like 35, and that was they both were great starts and terrible endings. I have ever since then I really have a problem saying this is my key, this is your key, and they're identical and they go to the same place and all our shit is in. I have issues with that.
Now, I've lived with a couple girls myself too, and I suffered from that. Do you remember that show, Married
Have
with
you ever
Children?
lived with a woman and then all your shit's in that house? Like you don't have no other place with.
Yeah. Yes.
I've always had another wardrobe.
See, that's
car
Oakland
parked
game.
somewhere else. Another.
That's Oakland game. I got Alameda game. I'm not quite there yet.
Have you ever read this book? Damn, it's a long ass title. It's like a little white kid that grew up in Oakland and then ended up in a mental hospital, some shit like that.
Oh, I love it. It sounds amazing.
Let me look it up for you.
While you're looking it up, I want you to read a book called Sex at Dawn, which is about the science of monogamy, written by Dr. Chris Ryan, who I think you should do his podcast because you two are pimps. And he wrote a book about this, which is the science of sex, marriage, relationships, monogamy, that I think you'd find fascinating. What's this book called? And I would love to read it.
It is some funny shit.
Do you read books? You're a book reader guy? Like, what books do you like to read? Nowadays, I find my attention span is so short because of social media and TV. It's hard for me I'll read a book and I'm like, I just read 5 pages. I don't even know what I read.
I'm into like shit that really happened.
Yeah, okay, like autobiographies. Do you do audiobooks? Do you listen to podcasts? You listen to Joe Rogan? He has some interesting guests on.
I listen to Rogan. I watch him on YouTube.
You saw Kevin Hart on there recently? It was a good story. Kevin Hart's a hustler. That's my boy. Shout out to Kevin Hart. It's a long ass title, man. I'm trying to like read the fucking title. Let's see. Let me read it.
When I zoom in on it, it gets blurry. Okay. It's called what? Go back.
It's all right. Let's find it. I'm curious about this. Also, what do you feel?
It's called The True Tale of a White Boy from Oakland Who Became a Drug Addict, Criminal, Mental Patient, and then turned 16.
Oh, that's the story of my life. Oh my goodness. Kasher. Oh, Moshe Kasher wrote this. That's my boy. He's a comedian. Yeah. Oh shit. I love it. You know, his parents were deaf.
So I read, that's also in the book. It's funny.
Okay, dude, that's great. I didn't even know about that book, but Moshe's a real one. He's an Oakland boy.
This is a funny ass book.
Okay, Moshe Moshe, me and Moshe did this event together. We both did the Motherfucker Awards, where we did an award ceremony sort of making fun of all the companies that are ruining Mother Earth, and he and I both did that recently.
Motherfucker Awards.
The Motherfucker Awards. Maybe we'll get you on there when you're... real quick, you still smoke weed, right? Every day? You slow down on the weed at all?
No, I have marijuana on me right now.
Okay.
You know what I do, man?
Let's see what kind of weed you got. I'm taking a weed break, and I'm having a hard time dealing with life.
I don't think there's ever been a time in my life where I didn't have a joint on me already.
Oh,
rolled
wow.
up.
Look at those little baby tampons. These are beautiful.
Already rolled
Look at
up.
that. Wait, what kind of papers are those? Oh, my God. That's some fire right there.
Oh, yeah.
What is this, Kush? OG Kush? You know, I got to give you some of my rolling papers. I got a company called White Boy Rolling Papers, and I don't mean that to be racist. They're called white boys because in Florida, they call papers white boys.
I smoked that Illuminati.
Well, Illuminati's, that's some new shit. Shout out to Burner. You know Burner, right? From the Bay? He He's got some good weed. Oh my goodness. Do you wake and bake? Or do you wait until like you handle a little bit of business before?
I smoke very conservatively. These little joints are probably gonna last me for the rest of the day.
Right. You don't smoke because remember when you're young and you could just smoke blunt. Like Snoop still smokes like that.
I've never been a constant smoker. I've always been a, rational kind of. I go on tour. I bring a few ounces of weed.
Right.
Everybody on tour is out of weed. I'm the only one with weed left.
Right.
And they're like, hey, man, let me get a look. Nah.
No. Yeah, you didn't smoke conservatively. I did. What about blunts? Remember when blunts came out, when Redman and the East Coast made blunts popular, and Redman was on the cover of High Times, and he said how to roll a blunt. I remember then all of a sudden in the Bay, it became a thing. Like blunts became Swisher Sweet specifically.
Yeah,
became a thing.
I was like this. The first blunt I ever saw rolled, I was like, hold on. You just took a cigar, poured out all the tobacco, and then put weed back in it? Mm-hmm. That's the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life.
And then,
I was like,
that. You smoke blunts sometimes, no?
I will hit a blunt, but I don't know how to roll one. I would never put my weed in a blunt.
See, here's the thing about blunts. This is what people don't realize. When I smoked weed for many years, I would put American Spirit tobacco in my joint and I'd roll it like European style. I'm sure you've been on spliffs. I'm sure you've been in Europe where that's the situation, Amsterdam.
I hit a spliff in the middle of the night just to get that zzz.
That's what I'm saying. So I would smoke spliffs only. I'd have to smoke it with tobacco. If I just had a nug of weed and I didn't have tobacco, I wouldn't roll it until I got my tobacco. And then everybody would make fun of me. Meanwhile, they're smoking a blunt. And I'd say to them, listen to me. You're smoking a blunt. You know you're not supposed to inhale a cigar, right? You know you're not supposed to inhale it. Meanwhile, you're inhaling that cigar paper. Nah, you got it twisted. I'm doing it the right way. Mm-hmm. You're not supposed to inhale a blunt.
I used to like my tobacco with cocaine.
Oh, shit.
We used to call them blasters. You take like a Newport.
Yeah.
And you squish out half the tobacco.
Yeah.
And then
I thought they were called coolies. You ever heard of coolies?
Well, they have a different name in every city.
Right, different.
I said what we call them blasters because it's like blast off.
Right.
And you fucking fill it up with cocaine.
Right.
And then you twist the tip.
You get that little coke hit.
But you get coke. You get coke and tobacco. That's just like at a party. That's just like,
God. Yeah, you could smell those in the air. I remember being
so glad I did drugs in the 80s.
Yeah, I got it out of your system, and now it's just weed. Yeah. Now, how do you feel about that? There's this epidemic that's going on now with like the opiates and the painkillers. That was never really a thing when we grew up. It was never really like, there would be like, I remember there'd be coke, there'd be heroin, there was around our streets. Now it's this pill shit that's going on.
But now you knew though that if you touched heroin, you knew. If you touched crack, you knew.
Right.
I don't think that the awareness is there of all these opioid based drugs that you're doing baby heroin. And
that's the evil part about it.
And people aren't really telling them.
That's what I mean.
That it's, you got all these propaganda songs, Molly Percocet and all these songs that are like, you don't want to be on those drugs at the same time. You don't want to fucking have a day where you snort coke, drink alcohol, smoke weed, take some kind of opioid, and then fucking, what am I missing?
Yeah, whatever. A million, the Xanax.
And you take all this shit in a day and you asking your body, like, process it. Are you fucking crazy?
Yep. And not only that, one of my boys, he sells. And when that Molly Percocet song came out, he goes, thank you very much, Future, because now I'm selling my Percocet for $7 instead of $3. It's interesting. Same with Cavassier. Pastor Cavassier. Cavassier went up in value. These rap songs changed the street value.
Hip-hop's a motherfucker.
Right? All right, let's go backwards a little bit. Blow the Whistle. When you made it, did you know it was a hit, or did you leave the studio going, yeah, this song's cool? Because one thing I've learned is I never knew what songs of mine were going to pop up. When I did My Dick, my biggest song, and when I did 1980, I drove home going, I don't even know if this is going to make the album. Those songs changed my life. Okay, but you do have
a thing that you make a lot of songs. You make a lot of songs in life.
Yeah.
So some songs you make, you go, I like this shit. People are going to like this shit. Other songs you go, I like this shit, and I don't give a fuck if anybody likes this shit. Then other songs of yours you might have that you don't like, and then people go, I fucking love that song. You like that one?
Yep.
Then you have the song that comes out of the studio, and everybody goes, this shit feels good. And then you get alone somewhere, you go, I did good this time. I like this one. Blow the Whistle is one of those songs that you don't know. If they're like your kids, you don't know which one of your kids is going to be a fucking scholar or athlete or whatever, but you like, you love them. And Blow the Whistle had that, it gives you like those goosebumps, kind of like, like, I like this more than most shit. I'm thinking this is going to be a good one. You never know what's going to be a hit, but I like certain songs. Like I'm a Player came off like that. Getting It came off like that. Like records that went big gave you I put them on repeat and be riding my car by myself. And I'm like, I could listen to this 150 times in a row, not being on my own fucking dick, but literally this song is amazing.
Right.
And Blow the Whistle had that appeal. And I love Blow the Whistle. I love this song because at the time I'm dealing with a record label, Jive Records, who has sold, millions of records on me. 6 platinum albums, 4 gold albums, double platinum, all kind of shit. Everything I'm guest appearing on, platinum. And these motherfuckers are trying to convince me that your shit ain't hot. But I'm in these shoes. I'm doing shows. I'm in the rooms. I'm like, I'm the guy. So I'm like, I've been in the game at this time like 20 fucking years. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, miss me with the bullshit. You can't mind fuck me into thinking there's no value. So I put out these songs, Shake That Monkey, that was like 04, 05. Then I put out Blow the Whistle, that's like 06. And I'm dealing with Jive Records, and there's literally, we're shooting the video, we're talking about what we can do, and then they're like, well, it's just not in the budget. And I'm watching Justin Timberlake's numbers and NSYNC and Backstreet and Britney. You guys got the budget, like it's just there. You got tons of profit. So what I did, I'm on a label with these hot ass records, and the label's going, we don't fuck with you. So basically, you go to the label, you say, well, just drop me. And what does the label go? Nah, we don't really want to drop you. So I just went out and I invented a whole new shit. Like E40 did the same thing. You realize that my label doesn't hold my hand. They don't go to my shows with me. They don't go on radio promotional dates with me. They don't go to the studio with me. Like the label is basically distribution, and they got the team, the machine that pushes the shit and promotes the shit. But outside of that, I'm pretty much been watching them. I could do this shit. I started off independent, so I'm on a major label that's not supporting me. No budget, no nothing. So I started doing creative things like I call around to every program director in the cities I was hot in, and I go, hey, Jive Records is not really putting no money up for the record. They're not even, we're not promoting it in your market or anything. But if you would shoot me some spans and help me get the record going in your city, I'd gladly come out there and do a free show or something. Whatever. What do you want me to do? I'll do whatever. So I'm like, I'm not going to spend my money, but fly me out. Every program director, every influential DJ that's on-air DJ has a night that he sponsors or some shit. I'm like, do Too Short night. You ain't got to pay me. He do a Too Short night and ain't got to pay me. He might make he might make any fucking thing. If you know what I mean?
Right.
Instantly, songs popping in that city. I ain't never called Jive Records and told them nothing I was doing.
That's crazy.
Jive Records, the president of Jive Records came to me one day and he goes, I owe you an apology. I'm like, you know what? He's like, to blow the whistle. We blew it. We fumbled. I'm like,
They blew the whistle.
Man,
that's crazy. I never knew that was it. And I even think that without you doing that song would have been, that song's a monster regardless. But the fact that you did that just put it on a whole nother level.
If they would have probably handled it right, it would have been a big record that kind of came and went. Me, grassroots promoting it, I had to go one city at a time. It shit took years.
Because that was right along the time when everything started going digital too, and people weren't buying music as much. So they were sitting there, all those labels are sinking ships at this point.
My cousin called me from New Orleans. This was probably 5 years after Blow the Whistle came out. And she's like, cousin, tell this motherfucker that Blow the Whistle is not a new record. I'm like, this shit came out in 06. And the person she was with is like, that shit just came out like 2 weeks. That's not a new record. Like literally, it would hit cities years later and become a new record to them. And it eased around the country.
Those are the biggest ones. Sometimes when they take a minute to creep, those are the biggest ones.
And it lasts forever now. Like
that song doesn't get old. You could put that song on right now.
My favorite Blow the Whistle story was this guy was like, he's like, dude, I didn't even know this motherfucker. He's like, I gotta tell you this story. He's like, me and my wife, we have an infant. And one day Blow the Whistle came on and the baby just got fucking just happy. And he's like, wow. He's like, maybe it's a coincidence. So he waits a while and experiments later. He's like, dude, every time I play this song, this baby gets happy.
That right there might be the true test because a baby's not going to lie. Like if a baby's moving to it, then that's the true test. You know what I mean? Because the
babies and like middle school age girls, they will hurt your feelings.
You know, it's crazy. I'm working on a kids album right now. I think I told you.
They will hurt your feelings and go, I don't like it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But that's what you need. You need that honesty. Now, I'm working on a kids album right now. And I have all my friends play for their children because I'm making these catchy little like Baby Shark kind of beats, right? And the kids don't lie. So I'm like, play the song for them, film it, and I want you to send me the video. And if their 3-year-old kid starts smiling and going like this, okay, that one works. And if they just stare at it, okay, that one ain't working. That's how I gauge what's gonna fucking work or not, is because kids are not gonna fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? So that's interesting.
I've been thinking about doing a kids project.
Jump on it with me. Let's do a song together, because people are going to expect you to say bitch and me say suck my dick. And when we come with nothing but real shit for kids, they're going to be like, this is the next level shit right here. They're grown, you know what I mean? Just to do it. And then I still do Dirt Nasty. So check out my name's Squeaky Clean.
Mine is sort of like a baby pimp kind of thing though.
Oh, that's dope. Okay, so maybe you got to see my shit. I'm going completely opposite of Dirt Nasty's Squeaky Clean.
Yeah, no, I'm fucking with you.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Be like, give me your milk, bitch.
Yeah. All right. Well, no, my shit, I'm actually going straight for, because I see all these kids on their phones now, and I feel like an old man because I'm looking at kids. I saw a kid at the airport the other day with his mom, and the mom handed the kid a magazine, and the kid took the magazine and swiped left. It didn't know to turn the page, bro.
It wasn't a page.
It didn't understand what it was. I said, oh my God. We've got to get back to basics and get these phones out of their hands and get kids. Because when we grew up, you had to play outside and you got a little dirty and you finger painted and you did that kind of shit.
All right, you told me the phone stack thing. I gotta get that one down, because I'm pulling that on the next group dinner.
So I'm going to tell the audience about that real quick. So here's the thing called stacking. When you go to dinner, everybody stacks their phone at the beginning before you order your food. Stack your phones up, and the first person that gets crazy and uses their phone pays the tab for dinner. That way everyone stays connected and doesn't be on their phone rude all day, because it's an epidemic. Everyone's on their phone, and I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah.
We all do it.
I call it phone separation anxiety.
Dude, that's some real shit.
Can you take a shit without your cell phone in the bathroom?
How soon after you wake up do you go to your phone? I give myself 30 minutes when I wake up.
And what's the last, before you fall asleep, when was the last time you touched it?
I don't even keep, now a new thing, I don't even keep it in my room. I keep it out of the bedroom. It's come to that, and we're all guilty of it. But I'm just glad I live half my life without a cell phone and internet. We were talking about this before. Back in the day, I'll meet you out front of the mall at 3:00. You had to be there
because nobody had phones.
That's it. It's become very phony.
You know what another one is? Another pet peeve of mine is 4 people take a picture using a cell phone, and right after the flash goes off, 3 of those 4 people need to see the picture, and then we're on our 4th picture now because those 3 can't decide that it's the right picture.
Yep, they don't like it.
They want you to delete it.
And it's usually girls. I don't like this one. Take it in.
So we got to take another. Then we got to take another. Delete it. I'm like, look, this is not a photo shoot.
Dude.
And I'm like, I come from an era where you don't get to see the pictures until they get developed. So,
how about this? Even one further. I come from the era where taking a photo is borderline snitching. Because it's like, you know what I mean? Like, just basically with the social media now, we were talking about this before too, you are forced to be completely honest when sometimes I might have wanted to tell a white lie and be like, oh, I'm bowling when I'm at the strip club. You can't do that anymore.
I say shit like, don't tag me.
Right, but they will. They will.
And you find out about tagging like the hard way.
Oh.
Like when you first didn't know what that phrase meant. And you find out how your girlfriend keeps knowing your fucking...
Dude. And like you said, now you'll catch someone going like this, and they're going live.
Oh, the sneaky video.
Dude, it's getting out of control, man. Well, we could go on all day. I want to thank you for coming down. Let's, real quick before you leave, let's plug the new single with Ice Cube.
Yeah, I got a new joint out with Ice Cube. It's called No Haters, and it's doing pretty good. It's off his album.
What's the sample on that one?
It's a famous song. Oh Honey. Don't ask me what group. Oh
right.
Honey.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
And then, I'm working on a bunch of stuff myself. I got the studio out here, and I work with a lot of young artists and producers, and I'm doing a bunch of projects that will introduce you to these artists, as well as a lot of songs with other celebs and stuff like that. I'm really at a stage where I don't give a fuck. and I made like 1,000 songs. I'm just gonna do what the fuck I feel like with them.
There's actually books written on that. There's a book called the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck or something like that. There's a lot of power to not giving a fuck. And I feel like I'm at an age too where I don't give a fuck anymore. And you know what? That's some powerful, even with girls, like I used to be like chasing the girls, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. And that's powerful shit.
And then just get your dick sucked left and right by not giving a fuck.
Exactly, not giving a fuck. Thanks for coming down, bro.
Right,
I appreciate you. And everything's what, at Too Short on Instagram?
I'm at Too Short.
Okay.
TOOSHORT. Everything.
All right, thanks, Todd. All right.
Faux show.
Cool.